Welcome back to this module on employee engagement and productivity. This is a very important topic in light of what we talked about earlier about leading in the VUCA world, with the volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity creating a lot of confusion at the workplace. How do you create an organizational climate that will allow your employee to be engaged? If you remember, the result-based leadership that we talked about in the other module is about, as a leader, you need to be able to develop an organizational climate of trust, a trust-based partnership between you and your team, and to be able to allow them to be able to do their job more effectively, to help them to be engaged so that they can serve and deliver great customer experience to their customers externally. So that brings the topic of employee engagement and productivity. But before we go a little bit more in depth about some of the best practices, let's be very clear what is engagement and what is not. Research has consistently shown, whether it be Gallup or Aon Hewitt, Mercer, many of the research have shown that everybody wants to have an engaged workforce. Because, why is that important? Because it can forge a path to competitive advantage or sustainable competitive advantage for the organization. So therefore, employee engagement is an important consideration in part of your broader business strategy and human resource strategy. Now, but yet when I go around, I go to different markets, different organizations, I ask different people to define engagement in the same organization. And very likely that you will get the same different answers from this group of people in the same organization. Or when you go from one organization to another, it's very likely that you have totally different definition. So it's important to define at CEE, engagement to us is the individual heightened emotional and intellectual connection with the organization, demonstrating a focused sense of energy, evident to others in the organization. People can see it, they can feel it, the display of personal initiative, the additional discretionary effort to his or her work. That is important in terms of the persistence towards consistently achieving the organizational goals and results. Now, that is what to us employee engagement. So there is a heightened emotional, intellectual connection and discretionary effort. Now, let's understand a little bit about employee engagement. So when we talk to a lot of organization consulting and our consulting engagement, employers want employee who will do the best or go the extra mile. This is what employer wants. Employer want employee who can go to do their best and proceed towards deliver what we call the extra mile. When we talk to employee, they want jobs that are worthwhile, they inspire them. So that's number one. So there is this what employer wants and what employee wants. And more organizations today, is very common that they look for win-win solutions. So how do you align between the organizational demand and employee expectation and focus on the need of the employee? Because at the end of the day, remember, we talk about the RBL, result-based leadership framework. It's about employee-centric focus. So how do you focus on an employee? Because if you're able to do that effectively, if you can have an engaged workforce, they will deliver great customer experience to their customers, to your customers. So it's a combination of the commitment of the employee to the organization and the value. So there's alignment with the individual who deem to be engaged and how they align to the organizational values and how their willingness and commit to help out their colleagues, or what we call the organizational citizenship. So when they align, when they are able to align to the value, they believe in what they do, they support their other colleagues. That is one of what we call an engaged workforce, engaged employee. But it's important to understand employee engagement goes beyond job satisfaction and motivation. Engagement is something that an employee has to offer, and it's not part of the contract. It's not part of the employment contract. But we need to understand that, as I said, the discretionary effort. They believe in what they do. They believe in the organization. They believe in the leader, and they want to make sure that they do the best. They provide that discretionary effort. So one of the best models that I've come, many models of employee engagement, and I've studied, I think, the Aon Hewitt framework of the employee engagement, very simple. when you look at an employee who has been engaged, typically they do three things. One, they say positively about the organization, and they stay. They believe in the organization, they stay with the organization, there's a high talent retention, and they strive to provide their discretionary effort. They do more than others. So what it means is that how do you develop or create a climate where people are engaged so the employee can say positively about the organization, they stay, there's a retention, and they strive to provide their discretionary effort. But the question I always ask people, is satisfaction the same as engagement? In many organizations, when you do survey, employee satisfaction survey, and yeah, satisfied employees may not necessarily, it's not the same, because yes, we know employees who are satisfied, they behave in a very positive manner. They tend to they tend to result in low absenteeism, low turnover, and also in American companies, or sometimes in many organizations you find today, there will be low substance abuse, for example. So they're satisfied employee. So that's how they behave. But if you look at an engaged employee, they not necessarily behave in the same way. Engaged employees are satisfied too. So they are satisfied employee, but they do beyond that. They are persistent at a very difficult task. In other words, they do not give up easily. They're resilient. They make sure they continuously look at how can they develop their own skills and ability to transform themselves and also at the same time to help the organization to succeed. Next is that they are more prone to helping others, support others. As I said, they're part of this, what we call organizational citizenship. They want to help the others in the organization. They are very proactive. They take initiative to solve problems. They go beyond expectations, what is expected from them in their role, and so forth. There are many aspects. So if you look at engaged employee, they are also satisfied employee. But they demonstrate the behavior, not only of satisfaction behavior, but of the engagement behavior. So it's very important to understand, to distinctively look at engagement, employee engagement and employee satisfaction. So all engaged employees are satisfied. So employee satisfaction survey may not necessarily look at the same issues as employee engagement. Therefore, when you do your employee engagement survey, make sure look at employee satisfaction survey. Make sure you cover the same the areas that is important in employee engagement, and the question that you are putting in place when you ask those questions for the employee, make sure they address the right set of questions to uncover the current state of employee engagement in the organization. Do they say, do they stay, and do they strive? The 3S. Say, do they say positively about organization? Do they strive? Do they stay in the organization, the talent retention? And of course, do they strive to do the extra, this discretionary effort?